Hey, Fly Girl. I'm René Vengelstork, Aviation CEO, FAA board alum, and high performance coach. Whether you're chasing your first discovery flight or leading at 40,000 feet, this show is your runway for bold career moves, real mentorship, and stories from women rewriting their flight plan. From the cockpit to the control tower, we're building the future of aviation one fly girl at a time. Welcome to the Fly Girls Guide podcast. Welcome to this episode of Fly Girls Guide to Aviation Careers. I am excited today to be learning more about dispatch. We're going to be learning right alongside each other today because this is one area of aviation that I don't know a ton about. I know it's critically important. And so to help me figure it out and help you figure it out, I've invited Sarah Heugel to join me. She's with one of the busiest airlines in the United States. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Renee. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak more about my job. Thank you.
Okay, so what does a dispatcher do?
My goodness, we have a long list of things to do, but essentially we have joint and equal responsibility with the captains of every single flight that we operate under my airline. And what that means is that I'm looking from A to B and everything in between. I do all of the pre-planning and also what to expect at the destination, along with the en route portion. So if there's any kind of weather or any ATC traffic delays, issues en route, I am constantly monitoring and measuring all of that along with turbulence. I come up with backup plans in case things change en route or before departure. And I'm also knowledgeable on any kind of mechanical issues that end up happening. We have a team that we work with along with our maintenance to discuss with the crew what we should do next moving forward. So it's a very fluid, constantly changing job for each single flight that we constantly monitor. So it's pretty busy.
How many flights are you monitoring at a time?
It depends. And I work in a kind of a different side of the whole dispatch department where I run what you would call the international or the ETOPS flights, which are just longer distance. So there's a lot more complication with those flights. But as a general sense, dispatchers for the domestic arena would work up to 30 to 40 flights in one shift. I have a little bit less since mine are a little bit more complicated that I can work up to maybe 15 to 20 flights or a little bit less depending on which desk I work.
Okay, I want to hear the nitty gritty about this. I know if I'm going to fly internationally, I have to have a really different kinds of flight plans and am anticipating communication with different air traffic controllers and all of that. What is it for commercial aviation? What are the specific things that you're looking at when you're planning an international flight?
My biggest thing that I would talk about is when you're flying international, you're going to a lot of islands or very remote places. So it can be more difficult to have backup plans if anything is happening. So if there's weather at your destination, you may be going to a different country to divert if we can't get into your final destination. So having that coordination, again, that has to do with your passports, your customs and border protection control going through. So those are a lot of variables that need to be looked at and planning purposes. Do you have enough fuel to go to all these different backup plans and what we should do? Also, speaking of ATC, they tend to like specific routes on how you get there. So the highways in the sky. ATC will not allow you to do whatever you want going out there. So being able to mitigate which route is acceptable with ATC to fly, those complications can get pretty tight sometimes when trying to maneuver, whether it be weather or one of the centers or fur boundaries are closed for whatever reason. We've got to find a way around that.
Well, one of the other things that I imagine that you have to do is to accommodate for emergency landings. And most of
Hmm.
these for the airlines are a medical emergency on board or something like that. There's so
Yeah.
few um, aeronautic emergencies going on that you would have to do a special landing for. How do you handle all of that? Is the crew in communication with you and you're looking ahead and seeing what happens with that?
Yes, there are a lot of I guess, safety nets that we use to help the passenger and also protect our company. We speak with medical professionals on board. We do patches with the crew, with Air Inc., and we have communication with the doctor that the flight attendants discuss what's going on with the passengers, and we do our best to aid them via that medical help over the radio. Then the dispatcher and the captain decide the safest course of action at that point. So if we do need to divert for the medical issue, then we find the safest airport to land at that can provide that passenger with the best medical support. And then we get a plan to descend down and land safely there to aid that passenger.
What an incredible asset you are to the
Yeah.
pilot, because a lot of times, just going through just my private pilot training, thinking about, okay, where's my nearest airport? What do I need to anticipate for that? Having you as a resource in the background has to be incredibly helpful. I wonder if you could tell me a time that you have, like one time that felt like, wow, I really feel like that was a great day. I know that my help was essential to that encounter, that particular flight.
You know, I consider myself a very proactive dispatcher. So I kind of live by that motto every single time I sign into my job. So I guess I couldn't pinpoint a single day because that's just my natural, I guess, response or how I pursue my job. That the biggest feedback that I appreciate is when the crew responds in that manner. When they tell me, thank you so much for that coordination or that proactiveness, that it really helped us, the information that you gave to us. So to me, that's that big smile on my face, that when I worked really hard to try to work in coordination with them and provide the best information and anticipation for something to come as possible. So hearing that feedback is probably what I would answer to your question.
So I know that the captain and the first officer are in communication with air traffic control through radios in the cockpit.
Mhm.
How are they communicating with dispatch?
We have something called ACARS, which is an automated messaging system. It's kind of like text messaging, essentially. It's just a lot more difficult for the pilots. They essentially punch down into a box each and every single letter in space. So it's definitely a little more daunting for the pilots to have to type out a message. But we in dispatch are able to simply use a keyboard, send a fast, quick message, and that's our main source of communication. Now we can use radios as well. We have station radios, or we have radios via Air Inc., which is a network that talks uses with ATC to talk to the crew. So we can tap into that radio patch and speak with them as well.
Okay, so I'm kind of trying to picture your working environment. Where are you
Mhm.
sitting when you're doing all of this? What does the room look like? Do you have a big screen with all the airplanes going all over it, or are you just in front of a computer terminal? What's your working environment like? Hey, friends, are you dreaming of a career in aviation or ready to level up the one you've already started? Whether you're a student, a career changer, or a seasoned pro, you are invited to our free virtual aviation career fair happening November 5th. Meet recruiters from top aviation companies, explore career paths you never knew existed, and even sign up for interviews. It's completely free, but space is limited. Register now at weareflygirls.com/careers and take off toward your future in aviation.
So it's a very large room where we have different work groups that we all work together, a central operating um, network. And for me particularly, I sit at a desk with uh, two major, very, very large monitors, and we have a phone monitor system. It's also a computer based where I can patch in radios or call any kind of station or any our superintendents that are above the dispatchers to help do any kind of coordination or customer service, etc. On this desk, I'm sitting in a small group of other dispatchers that can be down the row or behind me. We have groups of us that are similarly working a region. And so we have everything up on our monitors, which is our flight planning program, our weather mapping, flight following program, and then we have numerous other programs that allow us to follow any programs with ATC. Weather forecast models. We are able to look at payloads for weight and balance and calculate that. Our email is essential for us working as well for any other types of communication that are coming in. And we have other programs that can monitor arrival and departure demand that we use this all simultaneously for each of our flights. So we're constantly, moving from left to right or depending on how you set up your monitors of using all of this data, programs, sources to monitor sometimes a single flight.
Wow. Okay, so how did you get to this place? Like, how do you become a dispatcher?
For me, I've said before to other people that I'm kind of the left fielder. I did not come from an aviation background or even know much about aviation background growing up at all. It wasn't until after college, actually, that I met my now husband. He actually worked for the same airline, and he encouraged me to go be a flight attendant. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I have the qualifications for that. I don't really know what that entails or what I would need to do because I graduated with a studio art degree and a minor in entrepreneurship. So again, zero background in aviation. And so I went with it. I applied, got on as a flight attendant, and was in that department for about 3.5 years. And then my husband encouraged me that I know you can do more. You can do what I do because he is a dispatcher. And when I saw what he did at work, I always joke about it like it's the Matrix. I don't understand all this code and all these things that you do, the weather and all the charts that you look at. I mean, goodness, it was so overwhelming to me. And he was like, no, you can do it. I know you can. Just go get your license and see if you like it. So I found a local school. I went through a 5-week program. And there were definitely some tough days, definitely some days I was like, I'm not sure if I can do this. But that's the place that I fell in love with dispatch, learning what it's all about, learning the pre-planning, proactiveness, and how to problem solve all of these changes en route. So it's incredible. So I got my license and I studied incredibly hard for a long time. And finally, my airline opened up for dispatch. So I was able to move within the company into the dispatch position, and I have been there ever since. Yeah, it's an incredible opportunity to be able to move into our department.
So I'm assuming that being a flight attendant helped you a little bit because you would at least understand some of the things that happen in the airplane when you're in communication with the pilots. So that probably helped a little bit. And then it was a 5-week course, like an intro course. And then do you have your license at the end of that 5 weeks, or does it take longer than that to get licensed?
It depends on when you pass your exams. You take a written exam called the ADX, which is similar to the ATP for a pilot exam. Then you also need to do an oral practical with an FAA examiner where you do a flight plan with the FAA examiner, and also they do a lot of questions and problem solving about all the manuals that you need to learn when getting your license. So that can be challenging, and whether you pass or not can determine how long it ends up taking you. But essentially, the what you call ground schooling or the classroom portion ends up being about 3.5 weeks of everyday class. From my particular school, they had the straight 5 week course, but they also offer programs. If you are unable to go 5 weeks straight, you can do an 8 week course, which is a nighttime class. So in the evening times when you get off work, I can understand how anybody, it would be really hard to, let me just take off 5 weeks and go to this school. So they do have there are many schools that have other options like that, so that you can still work and get your certification as well.
I love it. What do you feel like are the skills or qualifications or even like personality characteristics that are important to have to be a good dispatcher?
Definitely attention to detail, being proactive, being a planner, a problem solver, and also a big team player, right? You need to have the same communication with the crew. You guys be able to explain everything to each other, be on the same page, because that creates a trust, a rapport with the crew, that when things get tough, you guys can talk through these situations and figure out the best, safest course of action. Um, and
That's where that
uh,
flight attendant training came in for you. You already had plenty of practice communicating with pilots. You understood pilot speak.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I will say that I believe that dispatch, or even just going into aviation, not flight attendant, I mean the pilots, the way the pilots speak with ATC over the radio, or being able to read all the METARs and TAPs, the weather, that's a totally different language. And I kind of teach that as well, that it's something you have to practice on a regular basis because it is so different than the way that we normally talk about stuff. Or if I'm speaking to a captain, that the language, the terminology, the demeanor, everything kind of changes actually. So on the plane, it's more of a fun, like we always just kind of throw back and forth to each other a little bit, being, having fun, being silly, and then, the safety things that we talk about, of course. But when it comes to dispatch, it's pretty on, when you're talking about things, definitely a different level of seriousness. But we always add our fun, our personalities into everything as well.
I love it. What do you think are the biggest challenges of being a dispatcher?
Gosh, sometimes situations get really difficult when there's a problem or weather looming to a location, maybe. Sometimes you have various flights going there within an hour span. So that can become very stressful on anticipating what ATC is going to do with the inbound flights. Are we going to go into holding? Are they going to close the area, the arrival where we're going in for landing? And now I need to communicate to one crew, and now my next flight's coming up next to the destination. Okay, now I need to communicate to them. So it can all happen in like a domino effect. So that
Mhm.
can get pretty stressful on mitigating. Okay, who do I need to talk first? What kind of plan do I need to have? Plans got to change for this flight. And like I talked about before, being fluid, that task saturation can become overwhelming. So being able to be more proactive or mitigate what's going to happen, anticipate, and getting that information to your crews, um, that can be one of the toughest things, because you're not only talking with them, right? Now you have to go talk to the stations, or we call them our superintendent of dispatch. They're the ones who help with the scheduling of the aircraft or positioning of them if they need to be at a certain airport, or if we are going to divert, do we have crews available in case this flight gets canceled or not? There's so many, they have a different level of dispatch procedures that they go under. and we have to coordinate with them on what we should do. So you're talking to so many different people and also trying to follow your flights at the same time that definitely can become overwhelming for a lot of people.
Yeah, wow, the ripple effects of the change
Yeah.
in a flight are something that we don't think about as passengers, right? We're just thinking about,
No.
oh man, I'm an hour late. But you're
Yeah.
thinking about, okay, am I going to have ground crew there? Is my are my baggage handlers going to be able to pull
Hmm.
baggage? Do I have customer service reps there helping to adjust people's flight plans? Like what is the actual ripple effect of all of that? You're pulling all of those factors into your planning. I imagine I actually have a new appreciation for how complex it is for
Yes.
this. One question that I have, I know you're doing international now, so you're supervising flights to a number of different locations, but your airline, like every other airline, has hubs where lots of flights come into. And I'll use Orlando as an example because
Yeah.
everyone has lots of flights into Orlando.
Yes.
Are there, when you're dispatching, are you taking flights from all over the place into one location? Or are you going from one location to many locations? How do flights get assigned to you?
Hmm. Um, so for international, I would only have international flights, but that arena can be as far north as, let's see, Baltimore, Chicago Midway, St. Louis, Nashville, various places to the north, and we can go as far south as Curacao or maybe over to Central America. And so our arena can be such a widespread view of where your flights could be, or as far east as Puerto Rico. So you can kind of see a lot on your desk. We also have the California region and down into Mexico as well, or Denver, Sacramento. These that those arenas are so broad. So they generally try to get kind of the West Coast, the Central, and the East Coast split evenly on the desk. But there are times where the desk load may change, and I may have a flight that's going over to Denver while I also have Florida flights and down into the Caribbean. So it just depends, and that can definitely be a tricky situation to resolve, especially if you have weather at both of those destinations or down in the Caribbean. Even it's hard to kind of keep that scope together, but we have ways of being able to individually monitor those stations and help us out.
I love that. Um, what would you say if you had to give advice to someone in the next generation? So, the people who you're going to be training and mentoring in the future, what are skills that they could be developing now in order to be a great dispatcher when they take that role?
I mean, believe that you can do anything you set your mind to. For me, I really wasn't sure that I could do dispatch or what really was it. It was huge and overwhelming to me. And with a nudge and some confidence, I made my way through and made myself believe I can do this. This is so fun. This is awesome. I developed a passion for it that I never knew I even had. So being open to that confidence, that strength, and developing a passion can really get you a long way in succeeding in whatever you want to do in life. A little quote I love, even for aviation, is don't ever let anyone turn your sky into a ceiling. So don't, um, the sky's the limit for you. Go wherever you want, and just work really hard, to get there.
I love it. What a great quote. Sarah, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I've learned so much today and have a huge appreciation for what dispatchers do to keep our skies safe.
Thank you so much for having me and this wonderful opportunity to share what I do, in hopes we have everybody come and try to join as well.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. For additional resources, head over to flygirlsguide.com. If you're inspired to pursue a path in aviation or want to support the women who do, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if today's conversation sparked something for you, share it with a friend. It's one of the best ways to grow the Fly Girls Guide community. Until next time.